So we are back, guys, with the new Ark Community Crunch 159, giving you all the information you need to know with what is going on with the world of Ark and to do with all of the big updates coming your way for the PC, Xbox One and the PS4. Now, we didn't actually get a community crunch last week, which is a bit weird because we're meant to be getting them every week and they didn't say anything about it, but there's a lot to go through in today's one, guys, because obviously Winter Wonderland is returning. As you can see, we've got a massive new dev diary which is going to be going through all of the huge updates coming this week for Extinction, and also about another huge patch which I think is going to link in towards with Extinction and stuff and some of the dinos within the game. Now, as always, if you guys do enjoy today's video, make sure to smash a like on it and subscribe if you are excited for all the content coming our way for Ark. Winter Wonderland is going to be amazing, so let's get straight in with things. So I have done like 3 videos now talking about Winter Wonderland and what's coming and the Dodo Rex and all of that stuff, so I don't really want to cover it anymore as you guys would have seen it. But hey survivors, welcome to the latest edition of the Community Crunch. Winter Wonderland is returning, and as you can see, have you been naughty or nice this year? I've heard whispers from the elves and reindeer that a certain Mr. Claus may be dropping gifts for all the good survivors this holiday season, and coal for the naughty ones too. We'll have more information in the coming weeks. So obviously, usually a Winter Wonderland drops like around about the 22nd or 23rd of December, so that's sort of the time you guys should be expecting to see it. If you want to learn more into what it is and what's going to be coming, then I've done plenty of videos on the channel recently, all my old Ark, well, when I say old, like the past few days, if you want to learn more into it. But it is a fantastic event, and it will be coming this year for all all consoles. It will be all consoles, and it will be for the PC. I doubt it will come for mobile, and I doubt it will come for Nintendo Switch. I don't really know how they're going to be working on this for the other things. And also, I've heard Nintendo Switch Ark has had a pretty awful launch. I don't know if you're someone that's played it or if you've enjoyed it or anything. I was really looking forward to it. I was going to buy it and everything, and since the reviews, I've gone completely against getting it, and I'm really upset about that. But we'll see what happens. Apparently there's loads of patches coming out for it, so I'd like to know what's going on for the like Nintendo Switch. But moving on anyway, we have got the big dev diary, which is going to be going through everything about what is going on with Extinction, or loads of bugs with the game and stuff. And this is a pretty long thing, so if you're interested in learning about the upcoming updates for Ark and all of that, maybe get a drink, like prepare for a pretty long thing to go through. But before that, I wanted to talk about the PC patch coming today. So today at 10 AM PST, there will be a PC patch, and there'll also be another patch today. If you're wondering why I'm saying today, not tomorrow, is because this means today, here on the community forums, going over some of the changes and upcoming things that are currently being worked on by our development team. Now, this is something huge because from what I've heard, it's going to fix a lot of things through to like dinos and stuff, and everyone is right now talking about TLC Phase 3. Now, I think Wildcard are slightly doing their own version of TLC, but not in the official way, if you guys know what I mean. Last big update we had for the console and the PC, there was huge changes to all of the dinos and creatures in Ark, and that to me seemed like part of a TLC. And there's meant to be more coming our way, and they're going to be talking about some of these changes that is currently being worked on. I would personally love to see the official TLC Phase 3 be, come to the game and stuff. But the way Wildcard, like, talk about things, they should really mention how, they're working on this, like, creature changes and stuff in a sort of TLC way, so people know. A lot of the time, Wildcard work on different things on the game, and it actually is what you want, but you don't realise it's being brought into the game, such as mods and stuff. And I just feel like you're going to get so many complaining customers and players and stuff, so I don't understand why they don't do it. But this will be interesting, and I will cover this in another video if you guys do want me to. We'll probably go through the rest of the community crunch very quickly before we get to this long thing about the updates. So this is mod community updates. I know you guys aren't as interested in that anymore. I know when it first came out, it was pretty interesting. I've kind of like, I mean, it's awesome because it gets modders into loads of stuff, but I don't really get involved with it as much anymore because I thought more was going to come out of it, and there's been 19 weeks of it now, and I just thought, or 20 weeks or something like that, I think, because obviously last week was missed. So yeah, then there's the fan art of the week, which they've brought, which is a new thing they brought to the crunch about a month ago or two, and it's fantastic. This is a really nice creation. And bear in mind, fan art of the week is like survivors and stuff creating their own fan art, submit it to wildcard, and the best ones get chosen. And just to see the talent of people in the community is just unbelievable. And then there's an evolution event, or evolution, whatever you want to call it, starting from Friday the 7th of December until Monday the 10th of December. As you guys know, getting closer and closer to Christmas, it is getting me very hyped, and I am going to be playing a lot of Ark as soon as Winter Wonderland comes out on some servers and getting in that Christmas spirit. So really, we're just going to be moving now onto the dev diary. So this week's diary entry is brought to you by lead programmer Chris Willoughby, and this week's diary dev is about extinction-related game balance and also about the big fixing process of Extinction since its initial release. Now, this is huge for the game, guys, and I'm looking forward to seeing like a lot of things fixed and a lot of things added in. And that again, it links to the PC patch coming today. And if this all goes well, and like with all these changes and stuff, then there will be this is obviously brought to console, but it's always later on, as you guys know. So Ark as its core is successful, I meant to say, because it offers the best and most diverse survival experience that it can to each player who plays it, and the many options that we can provide allows that to happen. There are many players that play our game over multiple platforms, and each of them has a different definition of what is most important to them, what Ark does well and what it should do better. Early, we made a decision to offer a vast array of options, modes, maps, servers and mods to get close as we could to being the best survival game for everyone. Now let me just stop one thing there. I believe they do give you a huge amount of options, different maps, different stuff, but still not enough. I know I could sound greedy there, and I know like a lot of people were saying, it takes a lot of time to work on and everything like that. But in my opinion, there has been a lot Wildcard and Ark, as a game could have done, to make it even more popular than it is now. I feel like there's been a lot of maps, but just we've been left months with no new content, and for a game that is actually huge. And I feel like because of official servers actually keep this game alive a lot, because it keeps players constantly playing, and then obviously there are a lot of players that still play on their single players, but the official server network actually keeps it alive. And when they say and mods, I really just don't think so. Like, yeah, there's awesome mods on the workshop for PC, but for console there isn't that much love there. But still, I do agree they put in a lot of hard work. This creates a major challenge when it comes to development. However, as each I can't even speak today, guys, piece of content or change is used in a large number of different ways. The many play modes are likely to be at odds with each other and are competing for the same development's resources. So we have to make a number of tough decisions to pick our priorities. This can result in mechanics that feel less than ideal for your setup, or bugs that only appear in certain modes. I do believe it's better than the primary alternative not offering or supporting these options at all. Now, really what they're saying there is Primal Survival just wasn't in their plans. And I feel like that's a great thing, and they don't just keep us like waiting and everything for things that, we've wanted for a while. But I still feel like they've done that way too much in the past. For Primal Survival, they created a whole trailer for it, a release date, it was at E3, everyone was so hyped for it, and then it just disappeared and just kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and then they just decided to tell everyone that, they don't want to release it anymore, it's not really in their plans, it's on the back burner. Which I understand when they feel like something else is right and something else is perfect, and they feel like this will be best for the game. but sometimes you have to listen to the community. And I know this has kind of turned into a bit of like a rant video, but I just like have to say what I thought. And sometimes I believe Wildcard don't listen to the community as much as it should, unless it's such a massive like a huge thing of like hundreds of thousands of people saying what they want. That's only when they listen, and otherwise they just keep things quiet. Anyway, moving on. In this industry, we need to develop and introduce new content and mechanics to keep our game interesting and relevant. When we set out to develop something with the size and scope of Extinction, we first sit down and figure out what new experiences we could bring to the table. We brainstorm far and wide, documenting and elaborating on ideas before scoring them. We try very hard to introduce features that have a broad reach and appeal across our play modes, or add a high amount of depth to one. The things that resonate the most through the process are grouped together into creatures, items, or features that become the key features for the expansion. Generally, when we do this, we're intentionally trying to shake up the meta to breathe a new life into the game. Oftentimes, it's hard to predict exactly how the new features will be used by players and just how much they'll shake things up. On the other side of the coin, testing changes to the game like Ark is quite difficult. Stepping back, it's really a numbers game. Let's say, for example, that you have 10 QA testers and they're like testing 50 hours a week. That's 500 hours of testing per week. Next, let's say that you have 3 months to fully test your changes. Multiply the 500 by 12 and you get 6,000 hours of serious in-depth testing. That can seem a lot, but it's nothing compared to the amount of time that players put in. Ark averaged 50k users for November on PC, which is just amazing. If you multiply that by 30 days and 24 hours, you end up with an estimate of 36 million hours of Ark played in November. That's 6,000 times as many hours as in the example above. There were approximately 1.2 million hours of Ark played in the first day of Extinction, and there were 50,000 hours played in the first hour after release. 10 minutes after Extinction released, players had already played 10,000 hours of Extinction, eclipsing the amount of testing done by the 10 testers above. So really what they're saying is when they have 10 testers that can test as much as they possibly can, and with us there's millions of players, well, like 50,000, hundreds of thousands of players that are playing millions of hours. So whenever there's 10 people test things out, they're not going to find anything. But when there's millions of hours, well, so far in November, 36 million, people are going to find way more than 10 people testing out the game. I completely understand that, and that's always going to be a thing. And I feel like it's just the way that Wildcard like sort of do things. If they released it, so Red Dead Online just come out and it's called a beta, so people know it's a beta. Maybe if they're worried about a DLC first coming out, maybe for the first week or two they call it Extinction Beta. Then when they've done that, any problems they can fix it for the official full set out to just be called Extinction. Now, I know sometimes that might not be the best thing, because with Extinction, you want to show like it's a full thing, prepared and ready. So maybe they won't call it a beta. They can just let players know that in the first 2 weeks, there's going to be a few troubles with the game and everything like that. So anyway, moving on. Obviously, we don't like it when our game has problems. So we focus much on of our testing on critical areas, and we test them over and over again and prioritize the issues we find. As you can imagine, this is a lot easier in a single player game with a fixed path through a scripted storyline. Once you start multiplying out some of all of the options and variables, however, it quickly becomes a huge challenge when obviously what they're going to be saying is when it becomes multiplayer. And our volume of players means that we'll always have more time playing our we will always have for more time playing Ark than us. Sorry, I really messed that up there. But you guys can kind of understand what they're saying. When there's a single player game, it's easier to do it. But when it's multiplayer, with so many people on there, it gets a bit crazy. When you combine this with the fact that most of the players are playing competitively, you realise that many of them are looking for a way to get like the edge above their competition. Very quickly they're using things in a way that you didn't intend or even think about, and it's up to the strong systems and well-placed testing to make sure that it stays in a healthy place. Sometimes you experience a few breakdowns in one or two of the above, and you have to turn around and fix it as fast as you possibly can. So I completely understand, and I hope you guys are understanding a lot of what's they're being saying, you know, in this as well. Like, I'm sorry if my voice goes a little bit funny. I've got a really bad throat at the moment. Sort of starting to get better. I hope it doesn't get any worse. So what they're just saying is there's so many people. It's too hard for them to fix everything and make sure it's perfect. And when people complain or with these problems, they're testing as much as they can to come and have a fix for it. And you know, and that's what they're doing. They're not ignoring you. They're just trying to find fixes as soon as possible so people don't get too competitive and find other things. And what's different between other games is Ark is such a different game. It's constantly running, especially on official servers, and players are constantly looking for a different solution of being able to get above their opponent and just sort of, you know, do things like undermeshing and stuff. And Wildcard can't even like fix all of that because of what they're creating and running the game on, and there's so much into that stuff. It's absolutely crazy. So when we build the Titans, for example, we balanced them against dinos, items, and each other and bases. We wanted each of them to feel different, and we wanted them to have roles almost like classes in a class-based shooter. We wanted them to be somewhat slow and predictable, and ultimately squishy when faced with organised and concentrated fire. We felt very early on that they should be able to do a lot of damage to an end game base. If left unchecked, sorry. Beyond countering this strength, we wanted to limit how fast people could tame and transfer in Titans, and it made it a difficult decision to make, so we went for cooldowns on transfer and starvation. Of course, players discovered a way around starvation, kibble, so that broke a big piece of their cost completely. Last week we released a patch that brought this back closer to what we visioned for it, but it's unlikely that it's going to end up being the final change to Titans in the game, because I know they'd be nerfed and stuff. Moving on to the mechs. Mechs were built to counter Titans. Generally, the math that we used when developing the Titans and mechs was that approximately 3 mechs should be able to make short work of a Titan. Then we set out to arm the mechs with abilities, like the rocket pack. That would allow them to take Titans on. In this regard, our primary focus was on the defensive compatibilities of the mech. Unfortunately, in our efforts to nail the defensive side of things, we overlooked a few issues that could occur on the offensive side, especially related to base raiding. The reality is that this was a mistake. Players discovered something within the first few days that they could use to dismantle bases by bypassing most of their automated defenses. Once something like this is discovered, we need to act quickly. We ask ourselves if it feels like the mechanic is overpowered. Then we ask if it fits in with the design of the creature. And we ask what the counter is and talk through the best way to balance it. Ideally, we'd like to have all of these discussions and make all of these decisions early in development when faced with the numbers game above. However, you realise how tough this could be, and it's hard to make sure it's absolutely perfect. That's what they're saying. So I completely understand where they're coming from. Reading this through, and I'm sure you guys are understanding it as well. I'm hoping so, even though my reading has been absolutely appalling in this video. I'm just very ill, and I'm trying to get it across to you guys as easy as possible. You can understand that players are always going to look, no matter if there's really nice people in the world, there's always going to be bad people in the world. And I'm not saying if you exploit the game, you're a bad person. You're just pretty annoying, and especially for game developers, and there's always going to be people doing that, if you know what I mean. So if we were to step back and put on a what they want type of thing instead of saying a hat, if they were trying to literally get a vision of what they want, they would like to reshape Ark such that none of these bugs ever made it through to our players. I'd want to test and retest every interaction, every spot in every map, every scenario that every player could find themselves in. The reality, however, is that it would take a very, very large team, a very large amount of time to develop something as broad as Ark and deliver it absolutely perfect. Large enough on both fronts, that likelihood of success drops dramatically, and even then, the game would still have bugs. Yes, Ark is not perfect, however we enjoy working on the game that delivers a broad, good experience to many players over one that offers a narrow but perfect experience to only a few, or takes 10 years to make. We strive to minimize the number of problems. We pride ourselves on recognizing and resolving them as fast as possible. As we continue to work on extinction issues, long-standing issues, and previous promises, and whatever is next for Ark, stay tuned. We'll continue to approach it from that perspective. Our job is to provide the best experience we can to the highest number of players we can reach, as fast as we can. Sometimes there will be bumps in the road, but necessarily part of making things the things we want to get back on scale, and we want to make sure it's worth it. So, I feel like I can actually breathe again after reading that as good as I possibly could, which is definitely not good enough, and I need to improve on that. But, you know, as I said, I'm ill. I completely understand where they're coming from, and it was actually great to read through that. And the further down I got from this, it kind of gave me a little bit more, like, get out of rant mode, get into understanding mode, and I always am in understanding mode with Wildcard. I completely respect everything they do with the game. It is one fantastic game. It's done so well, and I do not want it to ever end because I love Ark. It's so fun, and it's a game that I could come back to after 3 years of playing it and still have a load of fun on it, doing the same things, trying out new maps, and that's why it's still so popular. Last night, Ark had over 50,000 viewers on Twitch. Maybe because of the reason a bigger YouTuber decided to play it, but that was fantastic to see. It's a brilliant game, and it really deserves a lot of credit. They've got huge problems, but if they could just fix a few things they do wrong, they would get a lot of more support in the community. If I were to note down a few things now and go through it, I am going to do it as fast as I possibly can so you guys aren't sitting down just looking at a screen. Maybe I'll play something in the background. But all I wanted to note down, better communication with the community. That is a huge thing. They get like people getting so angry with them for so long for bad communication. Getting better communication. Working on the things the community wants. Put up polls. Ask the community what they want. Do you want Primal Survival before this? Yes or no? If it's mostly yes, then they release Primal Survival. What do you want the most out of everything? See what the community wants, because then you're going to get less hate. I sometimes feel like Wildcard take a lot of the hate and just understand they get it, and then they don't reply to anyone because all the messages are hate. But change it. If you're realising you're getting more hate, change it around. I sometimes see when I've done a video that people aren't happy with, and I think to myself, how can I change this around? What can I do to do better? And I don't feel like Wildcard have done this. They put a lot of work into their game, and I'm so excited to see what's next for Ark and Extinction's changes. I don't even feel like I've played enough Extinction to be happy with, if you know what I mean. Like, there's still so much I've got to discover with it, but it's because I haven't enjoyed it as much again, and it's really strange. I've enjoyed it more than Aberration, but for some reason I'm playing Aberration right now, and it doesn't really make any sense. But really, that is all I wanted to talk about today. It's a pretty big sort of type of video today, and I'm glad Wildcard have addressed this issue. Sorry about anyway my voice and stuff in today's video, it's hurting even talking, but I'm getting there, and I know Wildcard's getting there as well. Christmas is coming, guys. Winter Wonderland is returning. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Drop a like if you did enjoy it, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. See you guys later.